we've got Jacqueline Eckhoff, who works at Target Stores. We have got Nicole Anderson. She's the CEO of Christofferson Properties. We have got Michael Fry, Senior Project Manager, Creative Management for Walt Disney Studios and OMG 23. And we've got Courtney Peterson, an Associate Account Manager from Karwoski and Courage Public Relations / Martin Williams Advertising. Courtney is a 21 grad. Michael is an 18 grad. Nicole is a 99 grad. And Jacqueline is a, what year, Jacqueline?
2011. Seems like yesterday.
I know, right? So we span the gamut, and we have a variety of different fields, a variety of different experiences. So they have a lot to share with us, and a couple of them are very familiar to me. We're going to start, and Nicole and Michael, when Nicole and Michael also did our last communication session, we started with, just telling us about what your major and minor were here, and kind of what some of your key experiences were inside and outside the classroom. If you want to just kind of we'll just start with, you know what, Courtney, we're going to start with you, 2021.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Courtney, 2021 grad here. I was a communication major, and now I'm an associate account manager at Karwoski and Courage. Dana, what was the last part of your question? I'm sorry.
Just some of the key experiences and inside the classroom, outside the classroom that, come to mind immediately when you think about what you do now.
Sure. I was the public relations chair for the AKS sorority. If any of you guys are involved in that, that was a big kind of jump into being interested in PR. So. Great.
And Karwoski Courage, Martin Williams are extremely well-respected agencies. Karwoski Courage is the PR arm of Martin Williams Advertising. Very, very good agencies in Minneapolis. So that's where Courtney works. Michael.
Sorry, you think how often I use Zoom? You think I'd find the mute button faster. Sorry. Yes, 2018 grad. I majored in communication. For a while there, I was on the path to have a Hispanic Studies minor. I eventually dropped that just to kind of focus more on the communication side of things. During inside the classroom, I should say, stuff that stands out to me. I took a lot of communication classes. I think obviously I took Dana's intro and advanced media writing class. That was one of my favorites. I took a lot of theory-based classes, really kind of similar to this panel. I kind of ran the gamut in terms of what I did, just kind of like dip my toe in everywhere as much as I could, learn as much as I could on the communication side of things. Outside of the classroom, I was pretty involved in intramural sports. I rode crew. I was the executive producer, director for Stream Team at Johnny Benny Media. I don't know if they still exist. They might. I know Johnny Benny Media does. I'm not sure if Stream Team still is around, but essentially we live streamed all of the sports events at St. John's. I worked in fine arts programming for the theater department, front of house managed there for my first couple years on campus. I studied abroad in London. That was a big experience for me, something I really treasured. I was just back in London to visit again, like a month ago, because I loved it so much and I can't get enough. And yeah, I did a lot on campus to stay involved towards the latter half of my time at St. John's. I wish I would have done more and more early on, but inside and outside the classroom, I tried to stay as busy as I possibly could.
And comm majors, just as an aside, the advanced media writing class that Michael mentioned, that is now the COM 283 public relations branding and advertising branding classes. We just changed them into two credit classes. So, Jacqueline.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Jackie, 2011 grad, comm major, Hispanic Studies minor. I would say one of the key experiences I had on campus was working in administration, and I worked in a call center, and it sounds kind of monotonous and boring, but actually got me really comfortable talking to all sorts of different people, adults, kids, about St. Ben, St. John's, being part of tours with new students, and just really not being afraid to meet new people. I would say is an experience that I've taken with me into my career now. So love that I had an on-campus job. I wish I would have studied abroad. I graduated a semester early and couldn't quite fit that in. And I do regret that. So if you can study abroad, I would highly recommend doing it, even like one of the May trips. I think that's how you guys learn and just soak up new cultures. It's so special. So done traveling now, luckily, but I would highly recommend that. The other thing is just staying really close to your professors. So Jen, just love Jen, so hi Jen. But really using them as mentors and asking questions like about how class can relate to the real world. I would say what's so special about COM is that you learn about how everybody learns, and being a leader in any type of business, learning how people work and are different, it will just like really help propel you forward. And being an empathetic, caring leader first, I think that really stems from my major in school. So that's a little bit about my experience.
And Nicole.
Hello, I'm Nicole Anderson. I graduated in '99, which was a long time ago. I was a comm major with a minor in psych and an emphasis in organizational psych, because I was really fascinated with how it all kind of worked and how organizations ran and what leadership looked like in it. I have had a variety of places I've worked, but I spent most of my career at a software company called Concur. They were acquired by SAP, and I left a year ago during the pandemic to take over our family business. So kind of a sporadic career with a lot of different experiences and areas. And I would say, you know, the things that I did at St. Ben's, just like the rest of the group here, intramurals, I was PR for Senate, I wrote for the Record. I did a couple of different internships. I used, back then, dating myself again, what was called the Career Center. I know you guys have XPD now, so I would say leverage all that stuff. And I used to do a bunch of what they called informational interviews. And so I would say, network, both with your peers now, you know, get on LinkedIn, connect with us, reach out, and don't hesitate to get out of that comfort zone, even if you don't know someone. You know, everyone's kind of in the same boat, especially coming out of the pandemic and like re-entering in that it's just great to be able to connect. So I would say leverage that as much as you can and reach out for those types of things. And then lastly, my graduation with the comm major, I took classes that I wasn't totally in love with, you know, like everyone goes through. I had the things that I totally wanted to do, and then I had the things that you just kind of had to get through. And one of them was debate. It wasn't my favorite. And I'm now thankful because I had a sales career right out of college. And then in my role at Concur, you know, there just naturally is some negotiation that goes on. And I found that taking that debate class, and another one is public speaking, really helped me to, you know, even now, several years out of college, helped me to kind of hone in those skills, even though I didn't know I'd need them back then.
Great, thank you. By the way, you guys, anytime any of you have a question, raise your hand, okay? Because again, we welcome your questions more than anything. Anybody right now yet? Okay, I'm gonna take things a different direction this time. I'm going to ask you guys to explain. So for example, Courtney, you're an associate account manager. Okay, what do you do? What does that mean? Because that's one of the things we keep hearing about comm is it's really kind of hard to explain, like, what do you do with the comm major? You know, if you're a nursing major, your chances are you'll be a nurse. So what do you do, and what comm skills do you feel you use the most? Okay, so we'll start with you, Courtney.
Sure. Yeah. So I basically help manage our client accounts by doing media and public relations. So I work on the Walmart and 3M accounts for us. So for Walmart, for media relations, I basically work with reporters on getting stories out if they, like, holidays are coming up. So there's a lot of stories that Walmart wants to pitch out there on like their deals, stuff like that. So I basically manage those relationships and am kind of like the middleman. And then for 3M, I work more on like just client relations. So we work with the client to get their advertising into different publications.
Okay.
And sorry.
What skills do you find that you're using the most that you gained here?
I would say media writing was huge, which was one of Dana's classes. I remember I still have my textbook. that was a huge part of it. And then otherwise just communication courses, getting to be comfortable talking to people and using those skills.
Okay, great. You write a lot, don't you?
Yes, very much.
And yeah, my class, that's kind of where we're going next, and we're going to start with public relations. We're going to start in media relations. So, you know, you'll be ready to intern with Courtney soon. Jackie, let's go to you next, because you kind of have a different deal,
Yeah.
different.
I do. So I've been with Target 12 years, all in the field. So the stores, and there's different positions that you can have in a store as a leader. So I've held really all those roles, from HR to logistics, to guest experience, but I run a whole store now. So really what I would say is the most, crucial skill that I have is leadership and how to understand how different people learn. So everybody has a different learning style. And in stores, I have, like, for example, my store has 220 team members, 17 leaders, 6 of them report to me. So you have to collaborate with a whole bunch of different people and understand their background and what's important to them. And so just really digging into, tests like the Enneagram test, if you've heard of that, or the Strengths Finder, and really learning how different people work so you can problem solve together and then drive results in sales. So I'm accountable for my store sales, our margin, our fulfillment numbers. With COVID, I will tell you, Target has skyrocketed into how much profit we make and what that looks like. And now post-pandemic, where we're at with margin on things that we've had to buy. So you use business skills, but also, like, you have people on your team that drive those areas of the business, and I need to make sure that I'm setting them up to win. So the number one skill I would say I use is collaboration to really drive some positive results in my team and in my business.
So all those group projects that everybody's like, oh no, basically
Right.
That's what life becomes, is one giant group project.
100%. We're all in it together. And if one person's failing, we're all failing. So
Yep. So Michael is a senior project manager in creative management for Walt Disney Studios and OMG 23. What does that mean? What do you do?
The $1 million question. So yeah, OMG 23 is essentially it's a branch of Omnicom Media Group that's specifically dedicated to, like Dana said, Walt Disney Studios and its various subsidiaries, the other studios like Marvel, Pixar, Lucasfilm, 20th Century. So, like you said, currently a senior project manager there on the Walt Disney Studios team, and my role essentially is to lead digital media execution for any one of the upcoming film releases for Walt Disney Studios or any of those subsidiary studios. So, picture it like we're the media agency. There's also a creative agency that we often partner with. They're the ones that are actually building out the creative, the art, the assets, the videos, things like that. And then there's also Disney, who's kind of overseeing the whole process. And as the media agency, essentially, we are the ones creating that strategy for the marketing plan. And I'm working more so on the back half of that. After the strategy is all said and done, approved, I'm the one that is kind of overseeing, making sure everything gets executed according to plan and is on budget as well. So I'm kind of like the end all be all in terms of, before something goes out, make sure we got the A-OK to do it, and then it goes out to the world. So, a couple of those movies that we're working on right now are the Black Panther movie that's coming out next week or maybe the week after. And we just ran Hocus Pocus 2 that I hope you guys saw and enjoyed, and things like that.
Okay. And last but not least, Nicole, who is now a CEO.
Yeah, so I am running a company. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. And I sort of landed here after I call it like my real world experience. I'm the CEO of our family business. So we own and operate apartment buildings around Minneapolis and Iowa. We've got 1,400 units. I've got 50 employees. So it's a little bit similar to what Jacqueline was talking about. And I'm running the business. Probably a little more applicable. I just came to run the family business as my father's retiring, but before that I worked for SAP Concur, which is a software company. And so I started there as an account manager. It's called their client development group. And what that technically means is you own a portfolio of customers wherever they are. So I had customers all across the nation and the world. And then I moved into management and then eventually got to a position where owning a customer, what Concur does is any kind of employee spend, so like expense management. So if you go on a trip and your company is paying for it, you have an American Express that you charge everything on, that ties into Concur, and Concur has a travel booking tool kind of like Orbit. So all of that stuff ties together. We go meet with the customers and say, hey, it looks like Target, for example, just to make this relevant, Jackie, not picking on your store, looks like Jackie spent $84 at in-room meals. That's outside of what your company allows. So you get an idea of what specifically we're looking at. And having several years doing that, I started going, we're meeting with our customers wrong. We're showing up and throwing a bunch of data at them, and they kind of sit and listen and go, okay, and then we go, see you next quarter. Well, that's not a valuable experience for a customer. So where I'm going with all of this is from a bunch of my comm classes, not only with public speaking, but critical thinking and creativity, just learning to think outside of the box and kind of challenge the system. And you guys are all smart, and, bringing your voice forward to bring that creativity and that outside of the box thinking forward is great.
Yeah, and I think it was you who brought up last time too, that we tend to kind of underplay that a bit, and it really is important that you use your creative spirit and flex that creativity a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll try to give you a chance.
We were talking about, being an arts college and things like that. And my creative out when I was in college was pottery. I took a bunch of ceramics classes, which was cool then, but thinking about how to continue to tap into that, whether it's in sports or music or whatever, and then bring that to make it your own, bring that to your job and make it fun. That's kind of where I was going with it. And
good. Any questions yet from you? Yes. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Taja Longley. I'm a senior and a communications major. This question is for Michael, actually. So I was also worked at Johnny Benny Media, and I'm interested in project management and film, that kind of industry. So I just wanted to know, what was the process like getting into your position now? Like, what is the qualifications for that position?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think if you kind of break it down to its simplest form, project management, it functions very similar no matter where you're at. I mean, ultimately, you're assigned to a project and you kind of oversee it and make sure things go according to plan. I mean, no matter where you're at, give or take a few things, it is ultimately pretty much the same. I mean, ultimately, in a job like this, what you really need to focus on and practice and kind of hone in, and it's something I'm still doing every day at my job and outside of the workplace, is managing my time management, be comfortable speaking, be confident speaking, know how to advocate for yourself, know how to organize and stay organized, stay cool under pressure, really communicate with people well, and I mean that all kind of goes without saying. With regards to how I got to where I am, I did a lot of things on campus. Like you said, I was in Johnny Benny Media as well. I kind of dipped my toes in everywhere, kind of like I was saying earlier with classes and communication. I didn't know what I wanted to do up until I graduated. I graduated and was unemployed for the first couple months post-grad. Never had an internship in college. I was pretty much, new to this whole thing, like everyone is graduating, you don't really know what to do. So I focused on sports because that's what I wanted to do. And I found a marketing project management role, entry level, on LinkedIn. So get on LinkedIn if you're not on LinkedIn, at a sports tech startup where they create fan engagement mobile apps for people at sports events. Like that, was more interested in the project management side of it. So I moved on to Hayworth Marketing and Media, another media agency downtown in Minneapolis, assigned to different accounts there, Bear Paint, Alaska Airlines, a casino chain. Again, was really just able to focus in on project management, hone in my skills, added another, job to the resume. I knew I wasn't going to stay there long. It was just kind of like, a great experience to have. It helped me, hone in on those skills, like I said. And then I actually leveraged a connection there who moved out to LA to work at this place called OMG 23. And that's kind of how I got my introduction to that. And then I joined in as a project manager about a year ago there. And that's still where I am today. So all of that to say, I think just diversify what you are doing on campus, diversify what you're doing outside of, the classroom, what your hobbies are. Ultimately, if you can find something that you enjoy, like project management, like I do, you kind of find ways to apply it in everyday situations as well, like sports teams, Johnny Benny Media. I mean, you're leading a team sometimes, you're doing all these different things that can apply. And really what employers are looking for is just past experience, someone who has proven or shown that they want to be good at something, even if they're not, they're still learning, and just can tell you're a go-getter. And I think that's kind of all it boils down to. You don't have to worry about having, all these big, past experiences to show off in an interview. As long as you can advocate for yourself and show that you're the right person to hire, that's ultimately what, they're going to be looking for in a position like project management. And I think a lot of places too.
Great, Michael, thank you. That's a perfect segue into my next question, unless somebody else wants to jump in. Okay. To build on what Michael just started talking about, which is some of the things that he did in college, you all had brought up some skill sets that you use regularly: public speaking, writing, critical thinking, leadership, organization, understanding the way people tick. Okay, so my question is this: when you go into a job or an internship interview, everybody else applying also has gone to classes, right? What do you suggest these people sitting in front of you right now do to take advantage of the opportunities on our campus to make themselves stand out and to continue to build their skill set, so they have some of the giddy up and some of the starting skills that Michael just mentioned too? Whoever wants to go first. Okay, I'll call on you, Nicole.
I was just going to go, I can unmute. Yeah, I mean, you guys are already ahead of the game. St. Ben St. John's is a great school. So in and of itself, that's great. Don't underestimate the power of that. And, I would say, be yourself, let your personality come through. Don't hesitate to be confident, not cocky, but confident, and talk about the experience that you have and the things that you're passionate about and what you're looking for. I always say it's a two-way street. So sure, you want the job, but it's got to fit for you as well than, just getting something where you can go plug your hours in. And don't be afraid to fail. We've all been through jobs. I mean, I was talking last time about, I had a couple of internships, and the most important things about the internships that I learned was that I didn't like it. I mean, comm major, I thought I wanted to go into writing. I love talking to customers or other people. And so I had an internship at the St. Cloud Times thinking, great, I'm going to go write all these cool stories about all these cool people. Well, they assigned me to write the obituaries. So number one, that wasn't super fun. And then number two, I discovered I didn't really like writing. I really liked more of the people interaction thing and the customer management and that kind of thing. So that was hugely valuable, even though it wasn't my favorite thing and I wasn't good at it. So don't be afraid to fail. As far as the resume go, be honest. And like I said, just be confident and point out the things that you're passionate about, because if you're not having fun, that will show too. And that's the best advice I can give ever, is just make sure you are enjoying what you do.
So what would be some tips for them to sort of build that resume portfolio, maybe kind of see what they like and don't while they're still here on campus, to kind of start that trajectory?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we've all talked about it a little bit too, but get involved in things. I put the record on mine, and I put that I was the PR rep for the Senate. I put, I volunteered. I think I volunteered at the St. Cloud prison one time, so I listed all that kind of stuff. Even intramural, I would get involved as much as you can, just as time permits, and put where your interests lie there. And, certainly, like I said, just, be yourself, I think is what's going to show through the most.
I think too, any real life experience you have that you can share in an interview, it doesn't have to be major, like you're not solving the world's problems, but think about all that you're studying with your peers and have access to on campus. Like when people come for performances, go listen, and soak up all the knowledge that is given to you, but also like just remember, kind of like Nicole said, whatever makes you happy, radiate that in the interview process or on your resume, because that is what will make you stand out. And if you don't like the speaking to people, you can lean into more of that data behind the scenes type of work, and then don't be afraid to share that. But really just be you. And anytime you can share a real life experience of something that didn't go well that you learned, I found has stuck with my interview process of like, that's how I learned I'm not going to do that again. But I lived it and own up to those mistakes, and people will see that as very valuable.
Good. And Courtney, what did you, I mean, what would you say? You're the, as the newest grad, what advice would you give people as far as building their skill set, experimenting, all those things, so they do stand out in an interview situation, and they do have an idea of what maybe their strengths are?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, use your resources. I worked with XPD a lot with like interview practicing. They helped like beef up my resume and almost like fine tune on my good experiences that I could talk about in interviews. They were like, oh, that's great, you should talk about that, and you seem to really want to go this direction. So just kind of use that resource to better understand what you want to do, because I know it's a lot, and there's so many communication jobs that you're like, oh my gosh, like which avenue am I going to take? But you're also not stuck in a particular avenue. There's so many different jobs, and you can always, change where you're working. That's the thing. So, and then I also wanted to say, just don't be afraid to start in like an internship role, because I actually started an internship role with this company, and then they taught me so much, and I was able to move into this full time.
Questions from the audience? You've got 4 alums. Yay! Jenna!
How many jobs did like each of you apply for before you got your first job offer like accepted?
A ton.
A lot. We had a wall senior year of all the no letters because it was a lot.
Yeah, I echo that a lot. And it's at the beginning, like before, I mean, you get used to the no's, because it's something everyone goes through. And every time you get, at least when I first started applying for like my very first job post grad, hence why I was also unemployed for a few months after post grad, is because like I just cannot get a yes. Like everyone, the communication field, media field is so inundated, and that's great because it's a very desirable, at least a few years ago, it was super desirable. It still is. And that's why we're all here. But it's so easy to get caught up in the no's, and then you almost get surprised when someone says yes, and then you're like, oh crap, game time, So it's a lot. I think all of us probably have gotten several no's before.
I would say, yeah, I echo that. And don't get discouraged. And sure, it sounds
Exactly.
easy to say, don't get discouraged, and then you get another no. But if there's any feedback you can get, that would be another point of advice. If you have good rapport with the person you're interviewing or the company, go back and ask, is there anything you could tell me about what you would have liked to see, or how it would? I mean, I think feedback is huge, 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 both in a job and in interviewing. And so, like Courtney said too, there's a million jobs out there. But if you can start honing in on maybe what skills seem like they resonate, or if there's feedback you can get, I think that's a big one.
I will tell you, I'm actually transitioning from my store to Target headquarters. And I have had 4 no's so far, and I have a lot of experience in the store. So I'm still kind of pending and waiting for what my next role is going to be. And I know the perfect fit will come, but like translating your skills into something new can take a lot of time. And just have confidence that you are who you are, and you will bring something very special to the table, and the right thing will land, even if it takes time, and don't let your parents make you feel like, wow, I thought this was going to happen faster. Because I think that we can all have some pressure on, you know, the money and all of that jazz. So to Courtney's point, don't hesitate to take an internship. My job started as an internship, which turned into my real job. And it takes time, and sometimes your confidence can be beaten, but practice what you feel like you're going to bring to the table, but don't over practice, because then they're going to be like, well, this person's a robot in their interview process. So just be unique to you.
Great. Okay. Yay.
So Jacqueline, you said that you worked there for like 11 or 12 years and you started your internship there. Like how did you work your way up in that situation?
Yes. So I went to the college internship fair and I saw the Target booth and I'm like, wow, I love Target. I'm going to go talk to them. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I got this interview and I was like, am I working in a store? Am I working at a computer? Like, what am I doing? And so went through the interview process, started was a 10-week in-store internship in HR, and fell in love with like meeting people from all walks of life. So at Target stores, think about when you shop, you see teenagers, elderly people, career people. Like Target has such a multitude of different people you worked with. So I took on my first role. You guys are going to think I'm absolutely nuts, but I worked overnight in my first like big girl job. Cried for 6 weeks because I was like, how am I going to sleep from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon? Like, how am I going to do that? But I learned how a really big volume super Target unloads all of their trailers, stocks, operationally is safe and ready for our guest. Best thing I ever did. I also met my husband there. So like God had a plan for me. But I did that. And I really just, what I'll tell you is soaked up every piece of the business and asked a lot of questions. So why do we do this? How does this work? And then also sometimes challenge the way that we would do it. I think at really big companies, we get really comfortable doing things how we've done them for however long. And as you can see with COVID, I think has been a perfect example of like, drive up, like whose life does that save? It saves my life like on a daily basis. But because of that, we all have this easier job, but at headquarters, we came up with something really quick and easy and our stores executed that. So I think just being a part of new thinking, and I asked a lot of questions and learned from people who've done it for a long time. So I wasn't afraid to learn how to be a team member at Target, even though I had a college degree from St. Ben's, like learned what it was like for everybody to work in the store, asked a lot of questions, worked overnight, not super ideal. I will tell you, I got paid very well though, and that was super enticing coming out of college, getting paid well. And then from there, started to do different positions within each store. So I've been in 5 stores doing HR, in 2 of them, running 2 of them. And so just really being a voice of what you love in HR and people became my passion, which is how I kind of got to where I am today.
Great. We got another one?
I just have a question for Courtney, just because you're like the most recent grad. How did you get your like position internship, and then did you have any internships during your time of college?
Yes, so I found the internship on LinkedIn, and then just went through the normal interview process. I actually got to talk with 2 of my supervisors at the time, so that was really nice, and I felt like I really got to know the company and what I would be doing. Definitely make sure you understand your day-to-day responsibilities. That's a big question to ask when you're in the interview process as well. But yeah, found it on LinkedIn. Well, sorry, what was the second part of your question? I know you asked something else.
Did you have any internships like during college?
Yes, I did. So I actually was a St. Cloud Rocks intern. I kind of did marketing and photography for them. So a little bit unrelated, but I had that internship. And then on the college campus, I was an admission guide and then media assistant for the St. Ben's Athletics.
Good. Good questions, everybody. Yeah.
Well, my name is Teresa. We talked about, applying lots of jobs before you get into the job, but I talked to a couple people and typically they said they apply for 3 to 5 jobs a week, and then I feel overwhelmed by, processing those, and then also on top of the schoolwork, I guess like fixing resume and writing cover letter, talking to people in the company, and it's just overwhelming. And I was wondering, like, what was your experience like that in the past?
That's a
Yeah,
good question.
I can go. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I can totally empathize. Same thing for me. And, you know, hang in there, first of all, because you will find something. And, you know, I had graduated and I didn't have anything still, same, you know, like Michael was talking about, it just takes some time. And I started going through my whole parents' network of friends, and I was reaching out through them, and I was reaching out through friends, you know. And now, being out of college for a while, I graduated with a group that, I'm not exaggerating, of like 40 to 50 St. Ben, St. John's people, and we're all still super close. And so I find myself using that network. And, you know, even for you guys, like we said, connect with us on LinkedIn. We have, you know, more than willing, more than happy to help you. And just kind of push yourself outside of maybe what's feeling like, oh, I'll just go after this one job posting. Get creative and think of other ways to do it. But certainly can empathize. It just takes time and it takes organization, and you will get something, even though sometimes it feels like, oh my God. Like I said, see if you can find some fun in it too. I mean, I lived in the townhomes with 5 other girls, and we had a wall of all of our letters that were like, didn't happen this one.
I
Oh,
think too,
go ahead.
I dedicated like 1 hour on a certain day to job searching so that it didn't feel like I had to do it all the time, because it can be, you can get sucked into LinkedIn and Indeed and all the postings that you see. And you are balancing a lot with school and also trying to have fun. Are you guys all seniors?
No, we've got plenty of sophomores in here.
Sophomore, okay. So yeah,
And
you guys
juniors.
have a lot of time. If you are a senior, don't panic. It's literally November. So you've got a lot of time before you need to secure a job. So I think if you even dedicated an hour a week to looking and researching, or a certain amount of time when you can, it will just give you, you don't have to go down that black hole. Like, I mean, I do it on Instagram. It's so dumb. I'm like, why have I been on here for 35 minutes? It's silly. So just like dedicate some certain time to it, so you don't feel like, wow, this is my full-time job, finding a job.
I would say,
amount-
sorry to keep going. One other quick point, you know, do those informational interviews, because sometimes when there's no pressure and you're just learning about something, it's a really safe way to have a conversation.
And then you've made a connection.
Yep.
Michael, were you gonna say something, Michael?
I was. I was just gonna say, definitely hang in there. I remember that exact feeling you're talking about, where it's like, for me, I probably to an extent over involved myself with different things, like to the point where when it came time to think about internships and jobs, I was like, oh God, another thing to add to the list of things to do. I think looking back on it, I definitely would have slowed my roll a little bit. I think, like they were saying, it's really easy to get sucked in and feel like, if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen. It does happen. Make sure you are enjoying college. Make sure you're having a fun time. Make sure you're doing what you like on top of anything else. Like I said, anything you do that to involve yourself on campus, off campus, in the classroom is going to somehow apply later on. So obviously don't leave it till the last minute. I'm not advocating for like uber procrastination or anything like that, but dedicate some time to it, set it aside. Don't apply to everything that remotely sounds like it applies to you. Apply to the ones you actually would see yourself working at and enjoying. If you're applying and you get the job and you're super excited, and then you realize on day one, like, I have no interest in this. Why am I here? When maybe 2 weeks later, if you had been applying to things that really interested you, you would have landed another internship or job somewhere that you like enjoy a ton. So don't overdo it. Don't underdo it. Find a good balance, kind of like everything in life. Find a good balance, and good things will come.
Yep, and I really do think and I myself am just as guilty. The time you spend on your phone every day, if you just cut that in half, you've got a good hour, honestly, to focus. And if you sit down maybe with your roommates or your friends and go, let's just sit down together for an hour on this Sunday and do this and then proofread for each other. You know, something that makes it not feel so like drudgery, you know, but I know, and I really hate writing cover letters to this day. So I feel your pain there. Anything else in the audience? Yes.
I have a question for Nicole. How has the alumni network helped you throughout like your career?
Oh, huge. Yeah, I mean, I use it now more, to be honest, than I did right when I graduated, but I used it while I was in school as a senior. I wanted to work for Target, like everyone did at that time. And I did a bunch of informational interviews because you could go in that career center back, I mean, use XPD and figure out the catalog of who works there and then just reach out. I mean, I would do that a ton. I was also interested in advertising. And so I'd reach out to people who worked in advertising and then try to figure out, I mean, this was kind of like definitely before a lot of social media, but as LinkedIn was getting rolling, it was kind of fun to figure out who was networked with who and who knew. And, you know, I asked questions even about interview. And it's like, do you wear a suit for this company or do you wear like business casual? Or does this one better to get lunch or meet this person for a cup of coffee? Or should I try to get an interview or, you know, things like that. And then I use it a ton now, just business networking. When I was in sales, I used to use it for sales. You know, there's a bunch of my friends who have companies that they work in that I was like, hey, can you get me to the right person at that company? And then I can have a company, you know, that kind of thing. I can't stress networking enough. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is too, your professors are on LinkedIn and we get contacted a lot. You know what I mean? So if somebody's like, do you have a grad who's interested in hunting? Because I have this company, I mean, I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? So that piece too.
It's never annoying to get a message that says, hey, can I talk to you and learn about what you do?
Yeah. Or do you know anybody who would be a good fit for that? That's always really fun.
So do you guys, can I ask a question of you? There's the internship, is that Handshake or is that on LinkedIn from St. Ben, St. John's? Does that sound familiar?
Handshake?
Handshake?
So I work in the external engagement side of XPD and there is a lot of internships that are posted on Handshake. And just to put LinkedIn, which is a great resource, obviously, Handshake is a little bit more geared toward undergraduate and first school internship opportunities and kind of those entry level positions, where LinkedIn has a lot more of the other plethora as well. So I would use both, but if you're looking for internships, Handshake is a good place to look. And again, if you make an appointment with any of the career ambassadors in the XPD, they can walk through that with you. Everyone has an account because the school sets those up for you. You just need to update your information. You can put your resume on there, your cover letters on there, your skills, what you've been involved in while you're here, things that maybe set you apart that are not things that you've learned, but just who you are. Like you're an organized person. That's a harder skill to teach. Companies are looking for those kinds of things. And the other thing that you can do on Handshake is look for things by location or demographics. Where in the country you want. Maybe it's not in Minnesota. Maybe it's in LA. Maybe it's in New York. NASA's on there. 3M, Target, tons of government organizations and nonprofits. So it's a good resource. And the other thing when you were talking about applying, you can put your information on there and the more accurate it is, it'll curate from a back-end algorithm. So you get messages from companies that are looking for you. So if your information is already there, it's passively being sent out to these companies that, oh, you're a account manager, oh, you're a senior, you're looking for a full-time position in Atlanta. They're a great fit for us. So you might get information and emails from the companies.
One other, oh, I'm sorry, one other quick thing and then I'll shut up, I promise. But there's a mentor-mentee program too, where you guys can get connected to an alum. So I'm mentoring someone right now and she's awesome. And it's just fun. I mean, she's, you know, you can ask anything. It's a one-on-one kind of relationship. My cousin happens to be a recruiter at Target, you know, so I've already connected her with that person. And so all the way from networking to like I said, just even if you want to have it more on a one-on-one basis, check out that mentor-mentee. I think it's Benny's in Business or something like that. Check that out.
Yep.
And there's also another one that the applications are open for right now that is SEAM, which is similar to that program, but it's across the board. So it's for St. Ben's and St. John's students, and that is run through the XPD office as well. And those applications run now through November 8th. So those are on the daily bulletin, they're on the XPD website. So reach out if you have questions about that.
Great.
I do
All
that
right.
Benny mentor thing too, and I love it. It's so fun to connect with people. I mean, this gal's graduated and in a role, but looking to really further her career and what steps she should take next. And then if you guys ever want to do a mock interview, I interview every day on my job. We could do that and go through your intro and who you are and like some situational questions. So don't hesitate to reach out, even if you don't want to work for Target.
Okay, we have 7 minutes left. Does anybody have another question? Okay. Speakers, thank you again for being here. What would you tell them as parting words of students graduating from a very good liberal arts school? And we'll probably only have time for a couple people to speak, but what were the benefits of having been a liberal arts student that you brought out with you? Because I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in our major and maybe our minor, we forget that you're at a school that really, really nurtures some very important things. Whoever wants to run with that.
Yeah, I'll start because this is where last time I mentioned a couple things. Public speaking, we already talked about. I would focus on, just for everything, creativity. Again, don't underestimate your great thoughts in your mind and what you bring to the table, even if it is right out of college. Like you guys you have great ideas and great things to bring to the table. And that creative thinking and problem solving, even if it doesn't feel like you're doing it right now, you are. Just in all the classes, even in symposium, like some of the natural classes that you guys have to take. This is where I was talking about mindfulness is kind of a hot topic on the scene in terms of leadership and interviewing. And if you haven't thought a little bit about mindfulness, maybe check it out, because we all have so much coming at us, and we're getting instant messages, we're on social media, and we're doing all that, and just kind of pay some attention to how you want to be, because I will say it is an advantage when you're interviewing someone and they have that emotional intelligence to understand where their strengths and weaknesses are, and really kind of know themselves. That sounded very philosophical, but I think the liberal arts part of being with St. Ben's and St. John's really cultivates all of that. And don't underestimate what you guys are learning, even though you might not feel like you're in a class to learn about exactly that.
Courtney, do you have?
Yeah, I would just add time management is huge. Like Nicole was saying, you guys are already doing that. So that'll be something you're already bringing into your role, which is great. And just those valuable skills you're already bringing into your, job. So that will be amazing for you guys. And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. But just being in liberal arts school and going into communication jobs, you have so much skills you don't realize. Like, we're not just nurses. You guys are really valuable, and you'll be valuable in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
I think just to add on quick before we wrap up here, I think the greatest thing about what you guys are, able to do versus other schools or other universities, I think, like Dana was saying, everyone gets so caught up in their major. It's easy to get caught up in like doing well in class. I know it's obviously important to do very well in class. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you.
But I was just going to say, focus on things you can do outside of the classroom as well. I think the great thing about, especially communication classes, like Dana was saying, you're encouraged so much to put into practice what you learn in real world settings, even if it's within the college community. Writing for the record, I wrote for the record once just for the heck of it, to try it out. Just keep doing things that help you become a better person, obviously become more desirable in terms of professional experience, and always just have fun with what you're doing. I think with how much we are as students, or were in my case, encouraged to go out and do and experience, it's invaluable because that's what gets you hired in terms of having stories, being able to, again, like I keep saying, advocate for yourself, being confident in yourself and things you've done, rather than, saying, I got straight A's, but I need to, work on what I do outside the classroom, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Sure. Good. You guys, thank you, everybody, so much for being with us today. Your insights are invaluable to people who would like to be sitting right where you are someday soon. So thank you very much.